are live. Sudds-R-Us.
Every single week around the concepts of the circle of love. Circle of love. We focus on God, marriage, family, and life. Greetings, my brothers and sisters.
Hello.
Welcome as we continue in this cold weather. And I'll tell you, it's been chilly outside and still chilly. Thank God for heat.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Yes, it is. Thank God for heat. We're going to continue to go forth because God has been good to us in our 7th season in episode 177. Season 7. Now, last week, 176, we was focused on life. We're going to continue on life. And our topic was the never-ending journey in achieving equality. The never-ending journey in achieving equality. Now, as we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. week, and not day, but week, we entered into Black History Month. And as we enter into that Black History Month, we must accept the fact that, number one, we talked about true equality will never be achieved until Jesus Christ comes back to receive us unto himself. And number two, we should never stop fighting the good fight. Fight together to continue to advance progress. And number three, we shouldn't be satisfied until justice rolls down the water like a stream and righteousness like a mighty stream. So this week, as we focus on life / Black history, the topic is celebrating Mary Ellen Pleasant. Mary Ellen Pleasant. Now, she's a phenomenal Black woman who's not well known or not normally recognized. But she was considered 3 things that we want to talk about today. Number one, she was considered a silent housemaid who excelled economically through observation, memory, and good customer service compared to acquiring a traditional education. Number two, she was a strategic investor. She was a strategic investor who secretly funded the Underground Railroad, banks, and social programs to free slaves and Black businesses. And number three, she was a supporter of abolitionists like John Brown Reid on Harper's Ferry in Virginia.
Yeah, there she is. She's a tough sister. But before we get started, we want to just give a shout out to our son, BS3 himself. That is the network that we are on, BS3 Network. And we just view him as the pod father himself.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Podcaster. He is the visionary that's driving this ship, this network of podcasters that are producing in a spirit of excellence as he has led the way. So we are thankful for our son, thankful to be under his leadership. And in case you did not know, he offers coaching. That is right. That is how we got up and started in this podcasting arena 7 years ago. So we thank God for him. If you are interested, that information is on your screen. He'll get you up and running wherever you want to go. We'd love to have you here at BS3 Network, though. And also, if you have not done so already, BS3 Network is on Roku TV. There is the link on your screen. We'd love for you to check us out. There's so much more available for you on BS3 Network and on Roku TV. Last but not least, there is our email address on the screen. If you'd like to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you. But without further ado, we want to just go ahead and share with you a little bit of what BS3 is all about, and then we'll be back with the rest of the show. Stay tuned.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
All right. Mary Ellen Pleasant, phenomenal Black woman that we haven't heard a lot about, but we're going to talk about her today because we're just impressed with her resume.
Yes.
And the first thing we want to talk about is the silent housemaid. Silent housemaid. Now, August 19th, 1814. Now, it's not conclusively documented if she was born in Georgia or Virginia or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Or even Haiti. She was from Haiti.
Well, we do know she passed away on January 11th, 1904 in San Francisco, California, at the age of 89 years old.
Wow.
Now, she was an American entrepreneur, financier, real estate magnate, and also an abolitionist. She was arguably the first self-made millionaire of African-American heritage, preceding Madam C.J. Walker by decades. I don't think y'all heard me. Preceding Madam C.J. Walker by decades. Now, various accounts about where she was born, just like we said, who her parents were, and if she was born free or not. But she claimed that she was born free in Philadelphia on Barley Street.
Wow.
The other state that she was born into slavery in Georgia or Virginia, which piqued our interest because, see, we're currently living in Georgia. We have relatives in Philadelphia, and our ancestors were believed to be brought to the United States as slaves or indentured servants through Georgia. And then we also spent 35 years in the San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area and actually worked in San Francisco, but never heard of Mary Ellen Pleasant. And we was wondering, why is this? We was intrigued with her story. We just had to share it with you. Now, she may have been the daughter of a voodoo priestess from the Caribbeans, or a Hawaiian merchant, or a wealthy Virginian. It was said that she had so many stories about her origin to please her audience, or to justify her behavior. So we believe from reading and doing our research and our study, we believe that she had a discerning gift of communication and of observation. After her mother disappeared when she was a child, she lived with Mr. and Mrs. Williams, who we don't know really a lot about them either. And we also know that Mary Ellen Williams stayed with them, but when she was 6 or 11 years of age, she was taken from her household in Philadelphia or Cincinnati, and Mr. Williams brought her to Nantucket, Massachusetts, to be a domestic or indentured servant to the Hussey Gardner family, who were Quakers and abolitionists. Now, he left some money for her education with the Husseys, yet Mary Ellen did not get a formal education. She later said, "I often wondered what would have been if I had an education."
Wow.
Mary Ellen stated in her memoir that she was brought to Nantucket by her father, but she had no memories of life before Nantucket and why she went there. But this was typical for young African-American children in that era to be moved around like property, and their parents had no say-so whatsoever. It's almost like he paid the Husseys to take her. But Miss Hussey, it was a blessing for them because she had a shop where she sold fish hooks to tons of coal, buying wholesale, and then selling retail was the way she did it, and it paid off for her. And Mary Ellen said, "I was finally placed in the store as a clerk. And I could make change and talk to a dozen of people all at once and never make a mistake. And I could remember all of the accounts at the end of the day. She could put them down, all of them down, and they will almost be right as I remember them." She quoted this in the agency, which is the Married Women Traders of Nantucket, 1765, 1865. So basically, Basically, this young girl, she had a photographic memory, which brings me to my first scripture, 1 Corinthians 12, 4-7. It says, now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are diverse differences of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operations, but it's the same God which worketh all in all. But the manifestations of the Spirit is given to every man to profit with all. So when she arrived in Nantucket in 1820, it was in the golden era of the Nantucket whaling. As she grew up, she worked in the Hussey store, located on the Union Street, and it was run by Mary Hussey, whom she called Grandma Hussey. Now, Hussey was the grandmother of Phoebe Hussey Gardner, who was married to Captain Edward W. Gardner, who was a whaler. Now, Mary Ellen sought to create a better life for herself by focusing on learning what she could from her surroundings. So while she was working at the shop, working at the store, it helped her to develop a friendly manner and a business acumen. She said of that time, I was a girl full of smartness who let books alone and studied men and women a good deal. I have always noticed that when I have something to say, people listen. They never go to sleep on me. Which brings me to Matthew 7 and 8. It says, ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, you shall find. Knock, and it shall be open unto you. For everyone that asketh, receive it. He that seeketh, find it. To him that knocketh, it shall be open. So she just basically requested from God the desires that she had, and God blessed her with those. She was considered a member of the family by 1839, when she was taken in the home of the abolitionists Phoebe Hussey Gardner and Edward Gardner. Now their son, Thomas Gardner, taught her how to read and write. So she was probably around 25 years of age at this time. Then she left Nantucket in 1840. Therefore, she exchanged letters with Phoebe Gardner and Ariel Hussey until they died. Phoebe and her husband Edward was lost at sea in 1863. And Ariel was also dead by that time. But God blessed Mary Ellen with the ability to overcome illiteracy with his divine purpose for her life, which brings me to this scripture, Job 13, 13-15. It says, hold your peace. Let me alone that I may speak, and let come on me what will. Wherefore do I take my flesh in my teeth and put my life in my hand. Wow. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. But I will maintain my own way before him. Mary Ellen was an apprentice for a tailor in Boston on Merrimack Street. She may have met her first husband in the shop, and she married James Smith in Boston in the 1840s. Her husband probably was a white or a mixed and abolitionist, and together they helped people who had been enslaved make it north to freedom in Nova Scotia via the Underground Railroad. They coordinate transportation through contacts in Nantucket and New Bedford, Massachusetts, Ohio, and perhaps New Orleans. Mary Ellen was likely to have attended anti-slavery society meetings in Nantucket, led by Anna Gardner. Now, Anna Gardner was born January 25th, 1816. She died February 18th, 1901. Now, she was also an abolitionist, a teacher, and as an ardent reformer, a staunch supporter of women's rights, and the author of several volumes in prose and verse. Now, 1841, she published the call for the first anti-slavery meeting in Nantucket, at which Frederick Douglass made his first public speech and electrified the audience. Which brings me to John 8, 34, 36. Jesus replied, verily, truly, I tell you, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Now, a slave has no permanent place in the family, but a son belongs to it forever. So if the son sets you free, you will be free indeed.
Yes.
She was a member of the family. Not only the hussy and the gardener, but she was a member of God's family. So Smith, who had been abusive to Mary Ellen, died after around 4 years of marriage. Mary Ellen was left at this estate worth tens of thousands of dollars. She continued her work as a conductor on the Underground Railroad for 3 to 4 years. It was dangerous work, but she was harassed for helping runaway slaves and ultimately had to leave the East Coast in fear of losing her life. They were in danger from slavers, as well as subject to persecution and imprisonment under the Fugitive Slave Act of 1793 and later Act of 1850 that imposed new penalties on those in the Underground Railroad. Nonetheless, for this work and later acts, W.E.B. Du Bois classed her and Harriet Tubman as two powerful women who rose out of the black mass of slaves, not only to guide their own folk, but to influence the entire nation. Psalms 146 and 9. The Lord preserveth the strangers. He reliveth the fatherless and widow. But the way of the wicked he turneth upside down. During that time, Mary Ellen returned to Nantucket for a short period of time after her husband's death, Edward Gardner, and helped transport fugitives to their freedom. Mary Ellen managed her husband's estate after his death. At some point, she developed a relationship with John James Pleasant, who was a former slave. He had been a Creole foreman of her husband's plantation or a waiter in New Bedford, Massachusetts. So when I looked at that information, I said, okay, that's her husband's plantation. So he was either white or he was mixed and passed for white. And that's how she was able to inherit these tens of thousands of properties or tens of thousands of dollars. So they married in 1848. During their marriage, he worked as a cook, seaman, and she had a baby daughter from one of her marriages and named Elizabeth Lizzie J. Smith in the 1840s. Now, Lizzie was left behind on the East Coast when Mary Ellen Pleasant established herself in San Francisco. Lizzie later made the journey west with Miss Martha Steele of Boston. So a number of fellow abolitionists from Boston, Philadelphia, and New Bedford, they migrated west to California in 1850. There were more than 700 people, at least 25 of whom were Hussey and Gardner family members, who left Nantucket for the Gold Coast in 1849. She sailed on the ship to New Orleans, where she arranged for the flight of enslaved people, took cooking lessons, and was said to have taken lessons from voodoo queen Marie Laveau. She arrived in San Francisco in 1849, or it was in April of 1852, on the steamer Oregon. After traveling through Panama, she left New Orleans just as she was about to be captured for her Underground Railroad feats. The voyage to California took about 4 months, but God blessed her to get there safely.
Yeah, this is a tough sister here. But one thing I really liked about her is that, regardless of where she was, she knew in her mind what she needed to do.
Right.
Which brings us to the second point of her being a strategic investor. Now, listen out for what I'm about to say, but here's a note to you and to me as well. Operate in silence.
Right.
You don't need everybody to know what you're doing. So sometime between 1840 and 1849, as was mentioned earlier, Pleasant married this abusive husband, who apparently James Smith was a mulatto, passed as Cuban, worked for a newspaper that was called, actually it was an abolitionist newspaper called The Liberator. and he was a spy for the Underground Railroad. So
Wow.
regardless of who she hooked up with, abusive or not, these people were somewhat of the same mindset.
Right.
He was working behind the scenes, informing and recruiting supporters and guiding and rescuing slaves. So he was involved, both of them were involved in abolitionist work.
Right.
And after his death, they say she was slave stealing, helping the enslaved escape as far north as Canada. Now, she was known as the Rosa Parks of her time.
Wow.
On her steady journey to helping her people towards equality. She was even known to employ freed slaves,
Right.
both in her businesses and in the homes of the rich that she worked in California. See, she pulling them along with her. She is known for using her wealth and influence to fight the civil rights in the 19th century.
Right, right.
And then after marrying John Pleasant, as we know, they moved to California and cleverly avoiding the troubles with the slaves for their abolitionist work.
Right.
And during this gold rush era, she was known to be the wealthiest person in California, while continuing to pass, check her out, continuing to pass as white. She found herself working in these homes, sweeping floors and serving tea in the mansions of the rich. But she wasn't just cleaning. She was attentively listening.
That's it. That's it.
She was a true multitasker. While her wealthy employers were discussing stocks and property deals and banking secrets, or else they thought they were secrets, Miss Pleasant was paying close attention, quietly serving these people. She had a good memory, obviously, because she couldn't sit there and write this stuff down. No recorders during that time, right? So she was cleverly ambitious and outsmarted those that thought she was dumb and unable to comprehend what they were saying. So that's where they slipped. And she flipped the script on them, rendering them a member of the dummy club. I don't know about you, but I say that a lot. People think we dumb, but what you say, Miss Pleasant quietly listened her way into a $30 million empire. And then she started to become the strategic one. She started investing her money. It couldn't have been that much, but look, what an example she set. That was real, the real sense of money management. She brought laundries, boarding houses, restaurants, and a dairy. Mrs. Pleasant was so strategic that she had shares in a local bank. I love this about her. When the law of racism stood in her way, look, she was a networker too, with her white employer and business partner, Thomas Bell, who held the investments under his name. This sister was bad. Y'all check her out again. Look, she don't look like she played either. Look at the face. She did things that Black women were often not allowed nor known to do. But in San Francisco, Mrs. Pleasant ran exclusive dining establishments for men, possibly California miners. That was during the gold rush era. They had money. So the first restaurant was called the Case and Heiser. She did this simultaneously while continuing to increase her business knowledge and power. She was a straight businesswoman, a boss. That's what they call them today, a boss. Mrs. Pleasant was known to be skillfully persuasive, but brutally direct because she was a fighter and did not resist challenging the most powerful individuals when she believed her case was right. You just said earlier how, she had a smart mouth. She was very straightforward and aggressive. But here's a quote that she said, "I'd rather be a corpse than a coward." That lets you know the sister didn't play. She wasn't going to choose to be dead. She is not going to be a coward. So watch out. From 1857 to 1859, Mrs. Pleasant financially supported abolitionist John Brown, who, by the way, grew up in Frontier, Ohio town, where whites were the minority. I had to do a little research on Mr. Brown. And it's also where his father taught him that all people should be treated equally. Now I'm gonna pause right there. This is a white man teaching his son in the 1800s that all people should be treated equally. Now, John Brown tried to eradicate slavery from the United States through increasingly radical means. He believed that violence, he wasn't a peacemaker. He believed that violence was necessary to dislodge slavery and fully engage himself in violent battles. He didn't care. He was down for the cause.
That's right.
There's some good white folk now, even on today. There's some that stand up for us. So Mrs. Pleasant organized a protest in the streets against California's secessionists. And in 1866, Sister Girl successfully attacked racial discrimination within the San Francisco public transportation system. After she and other women, I never thought this would be happening out west, but they were ejected from a city streetcar. She was known, look at this, she was known as the mother of civil rights in California.
That's it.
And in the Black community, she was known as Black City Hall within our community. Sister did not play. In 1875, then she amassed again with the clerk, Thomas Bell, a fortune through her investments in various businesses. She also helped to establish the Bank of California. I remember that bank in California.
That's right.
I remember that. It wasn't but one of them, or maybe, I don't know, but in the San Francisco Bay Area, making her one of the wealthiest and most influential Black Americans in history. Like I said before, she amassed $30 million. That's the equivalency of today. But in 1880s, here we go, a smear campaign. And guess who it was by? The widow of Thomas Bell. Thomas loved himself some Miss Pleasant, didn't he? I think that's what it was.
That's what it was.
And so after he died, see, she stayed low key until her husband died. And then she ruined Miss Pleasant's reputation. Local newspapers began to taunt her with a derogatory title that I refuse to repeat. I'm not going to call the sister that. That's for the white folks to call her. But this title was, of course, something said out of hatred. Thomas Bell, as I said before, he really had a liking for Mrs. Pleasant to do what he did, a liking for Black people as a whole. But Mrs. Pleasant never recovered from her prestige after this smearing campaign. You know what? They got to try to drag us through the mud. She did die in 1904. I was told she was died in January 4th. And I just did some math, exactly 9 years and 1 month before Rosa Parks was born, which was February 4th, 1913. But Mrs. Rosa Parks, look, she picked up the torch, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
But nevertheless, at the time of her death, Mrs. Pleasant and her enemies worked to scandalize her name, but her work in the area of human rights established clearly who she was and who she deserves to be remembered as. And as you can see, in retaliation or in relationship, I should say, to today, because there's nothing new under the sun, right? What I'm saying is our history continues to have attempts upon it to be erased and eradicated. That's God.
That's right.
Our history still rises to the forefront and it gets shared as we're doing today. And you can share it with everyone else. Share this podcast. Empower our people to know that you can't erase what was. That's history.
That's right.
You can't erase it. Now listen to Maya Angelou. I'm sorry. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. That's all we want. Face it with courage so we don't have to relive that era of our lives. Now Golda Meir, this is a profound quote. One cannot and must not try to erase the past
right.
merely because it does not fit the present. Come on, get with that. Don't erase it because it don't fit.
That's right.
It's here to stay. So although she faced backlash, she remained a powerful force of justice.
Yes, she did.
And if you don't know, there she is. Now you know. The sister was tough. Mary Ellen turned silence into strategy and used her fortune to fight for freedom.
Yes, she did. Yes,
Mother of civil rights in California. There she is.
Yeah, the bad sister. I'm telling you, yes, she was.
Lord.
Yes, she was. So the strategic investor, that's great. We learned a lot about what she did and how she was in the silent investor, how she was in the background, orchestrating it all. But you know how it is. We create and we invent, and somebody else get the credit.
That's it.
But that's all right. God sees all.
Yes,
God knows who's doing what and how they're doing it. And the same thing was happening when she was supporting the abolitionists. Now, Mary Ellen Pleasant left San Francisco from 1857 to 1859 to help John Brown, as my wife was just mentioning. Now, she claimed to have actively supported the cause with money and work. There was a note from her in his pocket when he was arrested after the Harper's Ferry Armory incident. But as it was only signed with the initials MEP, which were misread as WEP. So she was not caught, and she returned to San Francisco, continuing her work there, where she was called, like she said, Black City Hall. So Luke 3:38, it says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measures, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure of you use, it will be measured to you." So when Brown was hanged, John Brown was hanged on December 7, 1859, the murder for murder and treason, a note was found in Sorry for
Well, hello, good people.
technical difficulties. Sorry about that. The storm is raging, I tell you. So we have to reset here, but we thank you for hanging in there with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really windy here, and the cold weather has knocked our power out for a second. We're going to go ahead and finish up with this particular subject when it comes to her abolitionists, how she supported the abolitionists. And we was talking about John Brown, how she supported John Brown. And we stopped at when he was hanged. He was hanged on December the 2nd, 1859 for murder and treason. And a note was found in his pocket, and it read, "The axe is laid at the foot of the tree. When the first blow is struck, there will be more money to help." Now, officials most likely believed it was written by some wealthy Northerner who had helped fund Brown's attempt to incite and arm an enormous slave uprising to take over the arsenal at Harper's Ferry in Virginia. But no one suspected that the funder or the supporter was actually written by MEP, which is Mary Ellen Pleasant. So Pleasant told Davis, "Before I pass away, I wish to clear the identity of the party who actually furnished John Brown with most of his money to start the fight at Harper's Ferry, and who signed the letter found on him when he was arrested. The sum she donated was $30,000.
Wow.
Now, that's the equivalent to $1,050,000 in today's market. She has said that it was the most important, significant act of her life. In Romans 12:1 said, "I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service." So from October 16th to 18th, 1859, American abolitionist John Brown attempted to initiate a slave revolt in the southern states by raiding an armory in Harper's Ferry, Virginia. Now, West Virginia. The raid was frequently cited as one of the primary causes of the American Civil War. So she funded one of the primary causes that started the American Civil War. John Brown had originally asked Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, both of whom he had met in the transformation years as an abolitionist in Springfield, Massachusetts, to join him in his raid. But Harriet Tubman was prevented by illness, and Frederick Douglass declined as he believed Brown's plan was suicidal. And he was almost right, because Brown's party of 22 was defeated by a platoon of U.S. Marines, led by First Lieutenant Israel Green. 10 of the raiders were killed during the raid, 7 were tried and executed afterwards, and 5 escaped. So several of those present at the raid will later be prominent figures in the Civil War. He was willing to sacrifice his life for the cause, and Mary Ellen Pleasant was willing to donate her wealth towards the cause. You know, back then, female abolitionists often were accused of overstepping the bounds of appropriate behavior, they would call it. The actions of female reformers and abolitionists rose public opinion and placed their private as well as their public lives under scrutiny. This was written by Lynn Marie Hudson, the author of The Making of Mamie Pleasant. So, Proverbs 4:25-27 says, "Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thoughts to the paths of your feet and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or to the left. Keep your foot from evil." The raid was extensively covered in the press nationwide. It was the first such national crisis to be publicized using the new electronic telegraph. Reporters were in the first train leaving for Harper's Ferry. after news of the raid was received at 4 p.m. And on Monday, October 17th, Mary Ellen Pleasant supported the raid because she believed it was the right thing to do to help abolish slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's all I have. You have anything else? Any other comments?
It.
All right. All right.
It.
So we thank you for joining us.
Thank
we always
you.
like to close out with a scripture. We apologize again for the little pause that we had. Unfortunately,
technical difficulties.
The storm is raging, but we're gonna press our way through.
Yeah.
The devil couldn't stop this. We had to let you give you this information.
That's it.
And Mark 10:43-45 says, "Not so with you. Instead, whatever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and give his life as a ransom for many." God bless you. Y'all be safe out there now.
God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. God bless. We are live. Sudds-R-Us.
Every single week around the concepts of the circle of love. Circle of love. We focus on God, marriage, family, and life.